February 27, 2026. A date that history might remember as the beginning of the end for peace in South Asia. While the world watched other global conflicts, a powder keg that has been simmering for decades finally exploded. The words from Islamabad were chilling. Defense Minister Khawaja Asif stood before the cameras, his expression grim, and uttered the sentence no one wanted to hear: "The patience of Pakistan is exhausted. This is now an open war." But how did two neighboring nations, bound by faith, culture, and a shared history, reach a point where fighter jets are now the primary mode of communication? Is this a war against terror, or a battle for survival in a changing world order? Today, we peel back the layers of a conflict that is rewriting the map of the region. The strike, Operation Ghazab-lil-Haq. As the sun rose over the Hindu Kush, the silence was shattered by Operation Ghazab-lil-Haq. In a coordinated lightning strike, Pakistani missiles slammed into targets across Kabul, Kandahar, and Paktia. The official objective? To dismantle the sanctuaries of the TTP, the Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan. But the reality on the ground is far more chaotic. Kabul is in flames. Smoke rises from military installations that the Afghan Taliban claim were sovereign territory. The numbers coming in are staggering. Over 130 militants reported dead in a single wave of airstrikes. But the Taliban aren't backing down. They claim to have struck back, reporting dozens of Pakistani casualties along the Durand Line. Information is the first casualty of war, and as both sides trade accusations, one thing is certain: the borders are closed, the guns are hot, and there is no turning back. The anatomy of hate, the Durand Line and the TTP. To understand the 2026 war, you have to understand the line that was never meant to be a border. The Durand Line. A 2,600-kilometer scar across the landscape that Pakistan calls a boundary and Afghanistan calls an injustice. For years, Pakistan accused the Afghan Taliban of hosting the TTP, a group that has bled Pakistan for nearly 2 decades. Pakistan's stance is simple: you provide them a home, we will destroy that home. But there's a deeper, more shadowy layer to this. Pakistan is now openly pointing the finger at regional rivals, alleging that the Afghan Taliban has become a pawn in a much larger, proxy war orchestrated by India. Is the Taliban's defiance fueled by external support, or is this an indigenous struggle for Pashtun identity? The truth lies somewhere in the smoke of the border skirmishes. The escalation, a region on fire. This isn't just a border fight anymore. The geopolitical tectonic plates are shifting. Russia is nervous. Iran is on high alert. China, a major investor in the region, is watching its Belt and Road dreams turn into a battlefield. If this conflict escalates into a full-scale ground invasion, we aren't just looking at a local war. We are looking at a humanitarian catastrophe. Millions are already displaced, and with the Torkham and Chaman crossings sealed tight, the supply chains of Central Asia are snapping. The suspense isn't just about who wins the next battle. It's about what happens if the Afghan Taliban resorts to the one thing they know best: guerrilla warfare. They fought the Soviets for a decade. They fought NATO for 20 years. Can Pakistan's conventional military might survive a war of attrition against an enemy that has nowhere else to go? The final verdict: the shadow of the future. As we stand here today, the skies over the Durand Line remain dark with the shadow of drones and fighter jets. Operation Ghazab-lil-Haq might have been intended as a surgical strike, but it has opened a wound that may never heal. Is this the final reckoning between two brothers turned enemies? Or is it a tragic misunderstanding that will lead to the destabilization of a nuclear-armed state and its war-torn neighbor? The world is holding its breath. Every missile fired and every border post captured brings us one step closer to a regional conflagration that could pull in the world's superpowers. The question isn't just who is right or who is wrong. The question is, when the dust settles, will there be anything left of the peace we once hoped for? What do you believe? Is Pakistan's aggressive stance a necessary evil to ensure its internal security, or has a fatal mistake been made that will haunt the region for generations? The answers are being written in blood as we speak.